Hello everyone, this is Leah Whitehorse, and in this recording I'm going to be talking about Mercury retrograde for August 2024. So let's get some facts and figures and dates out of the way. First and foremost, I will put all of this in the box underneath the video as well, so you have the reference there. So Mercury will enter the shadow zone on the 17th of July. It will station retrograde at 4 degrees and 6 minutes of Virgo. This is on the 5th of August. On the 19th of August, we will get to the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde when the Sun will conjoin Mercury. We then have Mercury stationing direct on the 28th of August. This is at 28 degrees and 24 minutes of the sign Leo. And then on the 12th of September, Mercury will exit the shadow zone. So the full retrograde cycle takes us from the 17th of July through to the 12th of September. So this is going to be an interesting retrograde because it's going to prompt us to examine two areas of our lives, depending on where it's moving in our own personal chart. And it's going to focus on two very different kinds of energies, namely Virgo and Leo. So with Mercury stationing retrograde on the 5th of August in Virgo, it tells us that initially there is a need for us to focus on the details. This is Virgo. Virgo likes to analyze. Virgo likes to see things functioning properly. Virgo is associated with skills and the idea of service. So maybe we are sort of thinking about how can I best be of service here? So the here applies to wherever it's happening in your own personal chart. But for all of us, we are receiving some kind of prompt to look at how can I be of help? How can I be of service? What do I need to do here to make things better? How can I upskill? What do I need to go over? Because Mercury retrograde is always about reviewing. It's always about needing to go backwards so that we can go forwards. It's always about an internal experience. We are having to go within. Whenever a planet goes retrograde, we have to go within to work with this energy. So we're working with our Virgo energy initially because there is something that we need to figure out so that we can be of better service, so that we can feel better within ourselves. And we can also help ourselves as well as helping other people. And we are more equipped to deal with whatever happens in daily life. And we just feel as though we are just generally functioning and our routines are working better for us. Mercury will station on the Sabian symbol a man becoming aware of nature spirits and normally unseen spiritual agencies. So this degree tells us that not only are we dealing with the minutiae of our physical world, we're also being asked to recognize these other agencies, these other spirits, the invisible worlds, the hidden helpers that are happening kind of from behind the scenes. Now, it might be that that's kind of literally that we're sort of realizing whilst we're going through this review that there are people in our lives that actually are really helping us, and perhaps we haven't given it enough thought, or we haven't sort of recognized them, or we hadn't realized how this person has been helping us. So that's a really nice way of this Sabian symbol manifesting. But it is speaking of the spirit worlds, our spiritual nature and our spiritual helpers. And it's funny because now I'm thinking about how Virgo can also speak of pets and, small animals and domestic animals. And now I'm sort of thinking about our spirit helpers, our animal spirit helpers, our animal kin. We have these elemental beings in the other worlds that are attached to us, that come to us sometimes at different times, depending on what kind of energies or what kind of teachings we need. So I'll give you an example here. When I see a heron, I know that is a call for me to pay attention to how I'm balancing myself, because a heron tends to stand on one leg. It's a call to be more at peace and kind of to align my feelings with my thoughts, because the heron is a water bird, but of course it is a bird, so it flies in the air. And a heron is also connected to the idea of being very sort of self-sustaining. It sort of is a very independent creature. It kind of gets on with what needs to be done. And it gives that sort of vibe of just not needing anything or anyone else to survive. Now, obviously that can be taken to extremes, but when I see this bird, it reminds me to stand on my own 2 feet. So heron to me has come to me in many, many like amazing ways throughout my life. And this is just one of the birds that kind of walks with me as a spirit helper. I also have owls and crows and other birds come in sort of when they need to, when they want to give me some kind of message. So for you, it might be a different animal. I've also had foxes. Of course, horses are a lifelong connection. Bears are also important to me as well. All these animals have stories and folklore around them. They have a meaning on a symbolic level, and that can have profound meaning and relevance for our own lives when you realize, oh, that's what this is about. This is why I keep seeing a robin, or this is why I keep seeing frogs or butterflies or dragonflies or whatever it is for you. Something resonates. Take that message. So this Sabian symbol, I feel, is really speaking directly about these kinds of scenarios, finding our spiritual helpers. That can also include certain herbs, certain crystals, these kinds of things, different tools, whether it's tarot, oracles, or runes, whatever it is for you. And if none of those things resonate, if you're not into any of that stuff, that's fine as well. It doesn't matter. It's more about trusting yourself, trusting your higher self. If you don't believe in kind of spirits and that kind of thing, then trusting your higher self, which is also generally unseen. Moving on. So Mercury stations retrograde in Virgo. We start examining everything, all of these details. It then meets Venus, who has only just recently gone into Virgo. So it'll meet Venus on the 8th of August, a few days later. And Mercury conjunct Venus, well, that is a real moment of bringing together heart and mind. What is it you are drawn to? What do you like? What are you attracted to? What kind of relationships are you wanting to work on? What kind of relationships need some kind of work here? But the emphasis is on let's drop into the heart. And from there, on the 15th of August, Mercury then re-enters Leo, which is interesting because Leo is associated with the heart as well. So there's a lot of heart-centeredness going on with this Mercury retrograde. When Mercury goes back into Leo, we're now being called to question, how much am I enjoying my life right now? How much fun am I having here? What lights me up? What am I excited about? What am I creating? Because Leo is ruled by the sun, the source of all things. What am I creating? Leo is associated with children and with creativity and creative self-expression. So what am I creating here? What kind of life do I want to create that is going to light me up from the inside out? What do I need to be doing here? What do I need to be thinking about here? What am I thinking about when it comes to all of these things, when it comes to dating and having that kind of fun? These are the kinds of questions that we are asking here. And then on the 18th of August, Mercury will form a square with Uranus, which is a hard push to explore where are you holding back from taking a risk, or where might you need to take a risk to change things, to upgrade, to free your resources, or free yourself to have better security in your life. There's some kind of anxiety going on here though, because Mercury square Uranus often brings in the nerves, and there's a kind of electrical vibe going on here. The point is that we want to have some kind of security involving Taurus, but Uranus is saying you've got too comfortable. We've all got too comfortable. Things have to change. And so the question now is, what are you feeling drawn to? Going back to the conjunction to Venus, what are we drawn to? What do we feel is right for us? What's going to light us up? Well, now that's going to mean that we've got to get out of our comfort zone. We've got to expect that there is a little bit of unpredictability going on here. We can't predict what's going to happen next. All we can say is right now there is this jittery energy coming through that says something needs to change to free us, so that we can speak up, so that we can raise our voice, so that we can be heard, so that we can be seen, so that we can have fun here. Mercury square to Uranus is going to push us to think differently. It's saying embrace a different perspective. It's saying read something different, listen to something different, watch something different, take in some kind of new information to break these mental patterns that are keeping you stuck. Remember, Leo is a fixed sign, so is Taurus. These are fixed signs, and so sometimes we can get very, very fixed in our opinions on what we like and what we don't like, and what we want and what we don't want. And now we've got some kind of scenario that is pushing us to get out of these sort of old ways of thinking, start to embrace something new. Also involved in this square between Mercury and Uranus is a conjunction to Vesta. So this actually happens on the same day as Mercury square to Uranus. So they're all on 27 degrees of their respective signs. So now with Vesta being here, Vesta is a priestess. Where Vesta moves, she says, place your focus here. This is sacred. Devote yourself. So with Mercury retrograde in Leo, she is kind of saying, this is a devotional practice to go within, to find your light again, to find your inspiration again, Leo, to find your voice, not anyone else's, your voice. And with that square to Uranus, maybe the point is that we're kind of anxious about how other people might receive what we have to say, or what we have to create, or even just what we want to do in life. And yet Vesta is saying, let's still the mind, be calm, take this as a sacred process to focus on what brings you joy. And then we come to the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde, and this is on the 19th of August. And now we have the Sun here. So we have the Sun and Mercury joined together as one, Vesta very close by. And so now we have the moment of Cazimi. We have the moment when Mercury is sitting on the throne of the Sun, receiving wisdom from Source. Now we are getting the clarity, the image, the vivid realization, the sense of this is what this retrograde is about for me. This is the revelation that I needed, the stuff that I've been trying to untangle, to unpick, this sense of who am I? Suddenly now it is becoming clear, and I'm getting a name for this. I'm getting a name for what it is that I want to do, or what I want to be, or what I want to say. I can now start to verbalize this. It's coming down from super consciousness into my brain, into my mouth, in my heart. Everything here is coalescing into this moment of light where we can communicate clearly with ourselves about what it is that we truly want, and Vesta close by, again, making this like a sacred process. And also Vesta, she represents the hearth. She is associated with being a hearth goddess because she is the keeper of the flame. So we're getting a sense with Vesta here then that this particular conjunction between the Sun and Mercury is serving the function to bring us back home, to bring us back to the hearth side, the heart of the home, so the heart of the self. We are being called back to the heart of the self to relight that fire, and to just kind of add to the similar symbolism. We've got the Sabian symbol, a luminescence of dawn in the eastern sky. So now we have fire upon fire upon fire. We have this light coming through, the new beginning, the luminescence of dawn. It is shining. The light is extraordinary. That beautiful light. I'm also thinking about rainbow light as well. That beautiful, beautiful light just before dawn that is filled with promise. So we're getting a sense that whatever these revelations are, this light is that's kind of flooding through us around this time, this feeling of coming home to ourselves. Now we're also seeing that this has the potential to bring us to a fresh start, and that we can start again, and it's okay to start again. It's a new day, it's a new dawn. We can start again. From here, on the 20th of August, we move to Mercury forming a square to Pallas. So a square has some tension, but I feel like there's a small amount of tension here because generally we've got other aspects coming into play that are stronger, that feel as though they're more flowing. But we've got a little quandary here with Mercury square to Pallas. And perhaps it's that now that we've got this idea, we've got these thoughts coming through, these conversations that we're having, it's now forcing us to maybe change our strategy, or maybe we've got to discuss this with a partner, maybe to do with resources, because it's Pallas in Scorpio, the sign Scorpio is about our shared resources. So perhaps there is a little bit of problem solving to do with these kinds of topics. And maybe there's a little bit of, sometimes we can create problems where there aren't any. And that's just the caution with this particular aspect in play. You know how sometimes we get these amazing ideas and it might be the middle of the night and it's just like, yes, this, I know this to be true. I feel it in my bones. And then in the cold light of day, we start to second guess ourselves. So I kind of feel that Mercury square to Pallas might be a little bit of second guessing coming through. But still, we do have Mercury trine to Chiron. This is on the 23rd of August, and then also forming a sextile to Mars on the 24th of August. So the trine to Chiron, we know then that something is happening during this retrograde process that is prompting healing. It is allowing healing. When we speak with our own voice, when we allow our own ideas to come through, when we allow our voice to flow through our own creative works, then this feels healing to us. This allows us to help other people as well. I mean, Chiron is a mentor, is a teacher, is a healer, as well as the one who is wounded. So Mercury trine to Chiron can talk of healing stories, healing conversations. It can talk of mental health, feeling better as far as our mental health is concerned, because we have found that inner light again. And then with the sextile to Mars, this adds in the ability to take action. So now we've solved whatever this quandary was with Pallas, and we're starting to think, yes, I can take some action. Now, whether we want to actually take action on this date, maybe it's just thinking about it because Mercury is retrograde, but it would be a good time to brainstorm some ideas about how we're going to execute all of this, how we're going to put this all into practice once the Mercury retrograde is over. How am I going to bring this idea into being? How am I going to have this conversation? How am I going to make this decision? Or what might this decision be about? Or if I've already made the decision, how are we going to take the steps necessary to firm that up and bring it into reality? So Mercury sextile to Mars is also a reminder to use your mind as a tool, to think in positive can-do terms. That's very Mars. Mars likes to just have a simple action. And so we've got clear thinking here. We've got the flow of bringing things together with Chiron as well. So it kind of feels like we go through quite a process here with this Mercury retrograde of moving from this sort of sense of, oh, I don't really know what to do. I don't really know what to think. And even when I do know what to do, I'm a bit scared to take any action to change things. We're moving from that to this sense of flying. And the reason I'm saying flying is because on the 28th of August, when Mercury stations direct, it's going to be on the Sabian symbol, a carrier pigeon fulfilling its mission. So here we have this sense of being uplifted. Here we have a sense that we have received the message. So we have the beginning of this retrograde period of becoming aware of these nature spirits, and maybe our animal kin, our spirit helpers are coming through. And by the end of this retrograde period, we now have the message that is being brought to us by spirit, the carrier pigeon fulfilling its mission. If it's fulfilled its mission, it means that it's brought the message to whoever it was taking the message to. So I think this is a fascinating retrograde, because during this time, there is potential for us to receive important messages from spirit or from the soul or from the higher self, whichever way you want to see it. But we have these messages coming through. And so it's about creating this space for ourselves to receive these messages. And this is why it's so important that Vesta is part of this picture, because she makes the process sacred. And she tells us that when we have this stillness, when we have the focus, the concentration that comes from stilling the mind, that is when we can receive these potent messages. And that will guide us back to the light, the metaphorical inner light. It will guide us back to the truth of the self in Leo, so that once we come through this period of time, then we can truly serve. We can better serve the world, and we can feel better within ourselves. This concludes my reading for Mercury retrograde. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please do click a like and subscribe. If you would like to hear more from me, I do have a Substack website, social media, Patreon. I will leave all of the links below so that you can explore those. I will see you again soon. And in the meantime, I wish you many blessings on your path.